how you doing out there, Guitar Heroes? All right, today's lesson is about an introduction to the C major chord. That's what we're going to be talking about in the different positions that you can play a C major chord. C is probably one of the most common chords that there are because it's in multiple keys, and it's in the key of F, it's in the key of G, and it's obviously in the key of C. So those three keys all have that chord, and so it's a real popular one. There's plenty of songs that are in the key of C, and generally I find that the key of C I can usually sing most of the songs in the key without having to change them to something else. All right, so let's zoom in and dig in a little bit here to the C major chord. Okay, let's dig into the C major chord. C major chord. That's how it sounds. And that's how it's fretted, as they say. Okay, so that means first finger now is on the second string from the bottom. That's called a B string. And it's on the first fret, right? Because each one of these metal markers here are frets. So this position in between is always how you count, right? Fret 1, 2, 3, and so on. And then you'll see the little dots probably at the top, or these markers here, which kind of give you some indication of where you are. And that's the whole purpose, so you can find those spots a lot easier than this was just blank, and you didn't know where you were. So there's a definite advantage for that. Okay, so I got my first finger on that first fret, second string from the bottom, and then I'm going to put my second finger over here on the string that's 3 from the top, on the second fret. And then I'm going to bring this finger over to the third fret, and I'm on the second string from the bottom. Now we don't want that big string in the C chord, so I'm going to lay my thumb on top, and it mutes this E string. Okay, when you first get started fretting these chords, fretting just kind of gives you an idea of, okay, that's the frets I put my fingers on. Make sure that you're using the tips of your fingers, the tips and not the pads, because if you use your pad, you're probably going to interfere with the next string over. And you might be getting sounds like that you don't like. So always make sure that you're on the tip and you're as straight down as you can with your fingers. It doesn't always have to be 100% straight down, but the more straight down you can have it, the better. And each time you're making chords, you're going to find yourself rotating your wrist to be able to do certain things. Okay, so in other words, when my fingers are way over here, then I'm going to have to twist my hand. So experiment a little bit. If you say, oh geez, there's just no way I can reach that, well, work with your hand a little bit to see if you twist it, does that help a little bit. Okay, so we're back to the C chord now that we've got it fretted. That's what it sounds like. Now, what I'm doing there is I'm releasing the pressure on it a little bit, so I get that little scratching sound in between. One of the things that I think you'll benefit from is when you form the C chord, just press and release, press, release, press, release. And then even wiggle the strings a little bit if you can, and that's just going to get that muscle memory going. You get a really good feel for that, and make sure the strings they're rubbing on this fretboard, right? They're not in the air; they're on the fretboard. And you should be able to feel that tension of them being there, and that'll help a little bit in getting started. So you're not going to worry about, oh, I need to jump to the next chord right away. You just stay on this thing. Now watch my fingers. So I'm releasing that pressure. So you might not be able to do that right away, but my point here is don't worry about, oh, I'm going to take a couple strums and then I need to learn another chord because I need to move someplace. Don't worry about that. Just play the C for a while. Take your time. Make sure that your chord is clean before you move on. That's why I want you to put the fingers on and kind of rub them around and press, press, release, press, release, press, release, press, release. So you could, this is called a arpeggio when you're not strumming, when you're hitting individual notes. So you can tell all the notes are clean, but if I'm leaning over a little bit, so that's why you need to have your fingers going straight down. That's the way it works. Okay. Now there are times when you can use the pads, but it's not when you're forming a chord. Okay, so that's the C, and like I said, this would be kind of my practice. Or take it really slow. The slower it is, make sure that you can do it clean. There's no sense to try and speed if you can't get it clean. So really make sure you get that clean. Now, we can play C other ways. The first thing that's the simplest, I guess, is instead of my third finger coming down on this A string right here, I'm going to move it over to the big string, and then I'm going to put my little finger where that was. Now I can play all the strings. I don't have to mute with the thumb anymore. And the chord sounds a little bit richer because of that, but you don't have to play that, and you kind of find as you move along, if this is harder to find this with some speed, than just doing the three finger one. So we'll call this the 4-finger C. Okay, well, we can also do a bar chord, and bar chord simply means I'm going to put my finger down here. It kind of represents this, what we call a nut up here. It represents that, and in this case we can do a C right here. So I got the bar down, and then my other finger that's pressed down is pretty much covering the 3rd, 4th, and 5th strings. That little bar there, this little mini bar here. The bar chords are just a little chunkier than these. Now we have one more position too, and I'm just giving you, this is just for exposure, so you know this is a C and that's all there is. There are other Cs, and this isn't, I'm not showing you every single thing, but I'm showing you at least enough to where you could progress multiple years before you'd maybe be able to use all these proficiently. The last one is we can get a C down at the 8th fret with the bar chord, but this is a different form. This is the E form. Remember the E we just did a little while ago? If I take that E form, I slide up to the 8th fret, I get a C. If I use this A form, remember the A's right in here. If I use the A form, I can get a C there. So we got a whole bunch of options for C. So don't worry about the bar chords. I got a separate lesson on bar chords. Just work on the open C for a while, and get some let's say muscle memory, so to speak, there. One other thing I wanted to expose you to is the C7. Very, very common chord. So I'm going to use my C, my thumb's hanging on the top, and then my little finger is going to come down right here. So this finger here is on the A string, so that's 2 down, and then I'm going to skip 1, and then I'm going to put that little finger down. And that's the sound you get. It's a blues sounding chord, and normally 7ths normally are or blues related songs usually have chords that are 7ths because that's just the way they have it. That's kind of the style of it. So here's an example of a song, Mustang Sally, and there's a bunch of them that kind of do the same thing. Kansas City and Rock Me Baby, they all kind of do the same thing. And I'm doing that pressure on and off here thing when I'm strumming. See, when you hear this, pressure's released. And you can say, wow, I can just stay on that, and you can. It's a pretty good sequence of strums. So C7 is a good one to know, and it can be played in other positions too. But we want to start at the beginning, and at least you know about the positions that I've showed you so far. Okay, well, I hope that you get something out of this lesson, and basic thing is, just to get the practice in there, and the more you can practice, the better, and get those calluses built up. All right. Hope you get something out of this lesson. Talk to you later, and keep on strumming out there.